Okay, so we're going to make an assembly where we take our bolts over here on the left, and we get them not only to, match up with these holes, but to also work like a bolt so that when we turn them, they go up or down. So I'll do 2 of them, and I'll leave the rest to you to repeat what I do. We'll start with, I want to start with one of the ones that's larger so that it's easier to see what I'm doing. So let's start with the 1/2 inch one in this corner. So first thing I do, if I want to work on that, is I go over and I find my 1/2 inch diameter bolt, and I click and I drag it over and I let go. And I'll have the chance to move it around and so forth. I might lift it up a little bit so it's above the shape, but other than that, you don't have to move it over so it's close to that, because we're going to joint them together anyway. So once I get it up a little bit there and get it out of the way, maybe a little higher, there we go, and I hit OK. Now, we are going to create a joint like we did before. And Fusion is helpful because it's going to actually automatically assume the kind of joint that we want. So if I go to Assemble and I go to Joint, and the first thing I want to choose is the underside of the bolt, the bottom surface of this. So we're going to go down to our cube here, and we're going to look at the underside of the bolt, zoom in on it, and I want that spot right there. So I click once. Boom. And then I go back above it, and I go to the hole that I need, which is over here, and I click on the same spot right in the center top of that hole. And since now it did a rigid joint, but I don't want it to do a rigid joint. I want to be able to move this thing from that position up and down. So I'm going to go over here to where it says rigid. Now yours may have already done this, but because in the past it has for me, but in this case it went straight to rigid. So I'm going to click here and go to cylindrical and click that. And notice it moves up and down. And you can even animate it just to verify that, right, that's what we want. We do want it to be able to move up and down with each other. So when I get that cylindrical z-axis and it works all right, your axis might be different depending on how you did yours, but probably is the z-axis. And I hit OK. But we're not done yet. Now we have to limit this thing a little bit. I don't want it to go way up high, really, and I don't want it to go like that, for example. This is the real limit I need. I don't want it going into the other shape. That's not possible. So we're going to go down to where we created that that joint right here, right down here at the bottom, and we're going to right click on it, and we're going to say click on Edit Joint Limits. All right. And then the minimum, oh, we don't want rotate. Gotta be careful. We don't want rotate, so go up to there. I almost did it. So we'll click on rotate, and we actually want slide. So I click on that. Now I click on minimum, and let's see. Let's just move this real quick and see what we get. So if I can, well, let's just try a number here. Minimum, let's say I say the minimum is, I believe we want 0. Yes. And what would be the maximum? So let's click on that. And, okay, here's what we're going to have to do. I think 0 is going to be our maximum, because I'm betting that if I use, how long was our bolt? 1 inch, right? So if I put in -1 for the minimum, there we go. You see how it goes down? That's as low as we want it to go. It's -1. That should put it right on the surface there like we want. So yeah, -1 is going to be our minimum, and our maximum is going to be 0. Right there. All right, and we can animate it, and it shows that it'll go as far down as that and as far up as that. I like that, so I hit OK. Now, weird thing is I can spin it. I can move it this way. Let's see. Why can't I spin it? Let's go adjust that. So let's just take a look. Let's go back to Edit Joint Limits. And on Rotate, I got 0 for both of these. That's why it's not letting me. So we'll say 0 to 360. It can go all the way around. So there really is no limit. Let's animate. All right, which means, see, it can go as far around as it needs. All right, so that's what we did. We had, in the rotate section of this, we still had 0 and 0. We don't want that, so I hit OK. So now I can move it up and down, but notice it doesn't have to rotate, right? I can, or I can rotate it, but it doesn't necessarily move up or down, and they're not really connected to each other the way they would be if this was an actual bolt. But there's a way to do that. If we go up to Assemble, and we go down to Motion Link, and capture position. So the first thing it wants is the joint. See this little symbol here, this little light blue symbol that you see? That's the joint. All right, so I'm going to click once. I'm going to go until it highlights. So I move over to, right, see how it lights up? Click once. All right, and then this is the key button. We're going to link with same joint. So we're going to click this, and notice it spins and moves up and down at the same time. Now the only thing I want to check, and I think we're all right, is, well, I'll hit OK and we'll see. So if I turn this to the, if I click and drag it around to the right, whoops, if I click on a pointer and there you go, it should go down, just like it would as if it was a bolt. So if I go around to the right, it should lower. It's tricky to do with the mouse. There we go. And if I turn it to the left, lefty-loosey, it should go up. It's harder to do. I'm going to go from the top view more. There we go. There's left. And eventually I can't go left anymore. Why? Because it's all the way up. That's making me dizzy. There we go. So we can rotate it to the right, and it will lower it, just like a bolt. And if we rotate it to the left, it'll rise up. All right, so let's do it for another one as practice and go through all those steps one more time. Step 1, drag in one of the bolts. We'll do it for this one here. So that is the 1/4 inch one. I click and I hold down and I drag it over and I let it go. I lift it up a ways so I can see it better later on, and I hit OK. And then I'm going to make a joint, assemble, joint, capture positions, fine. One click on the underside of this, of the bolt, and one click at the top of the hole that I'm going to put it in. In this case, it went straight to cylindrical. It's showing me that. So we're good there, and I think we hit OK. And then we go down to the joint we created, and we right-click, and we do Edit Joint Limits. Rotate is going to be from 0 to 360. And then go to Slide, and we're going to go minimum of 0. No, minimum of -1, right? Because that's all the way down the hole. So -1. And it shows us what that looks like. And then a maximum of 0. And we hit OK. And that should enable us to move it there, but no farther. Good. And up, but no farther than that. So remember what to do next? It's in Assemble. Which one of those is it? That's right. Motion Link. We're going to connect these two motions. Capture position. We're going to select the joint, this thing here that lights up. That blue thing right there. Click there. And the key one here is link with same joint. Animate it, and you'll see if it spins to the right, it lowers. Spins to the left, it raises. We're good. You hit OK. And we've done it for that one. All right. So your job is to try it for the other ones here.